I'm gonna trust myself. Oh, I'm gonna love myself. I'm gonna trust myself, love myself, believe in myself like I used to. Oh.
Welcome to the 25-8 podcast. Today we are with my co-host Bobby Keith. We're here from the Georgia Theater here in Athens. We have the iconic Tennessee Jet, who is one of my favorite songwriters, and then we've got a long tenured catcher in Major League Baseball, Justin Hatcher. Glad to have you guys here today.
It's great to be here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for being here.
We would have Bobby Keith on set here, but he decided to try to drive to DFW in the rain and tornadoes last night and couldn't get on a plane here. So I think he did it on purpose just because he didn't want to sleep in my little spare bedroom, but we'll be all right.
I felt like I was sleeping with every musician in the world in there. There's every poster from everything, but no, it was just horrible weather here in Texas, and unfortunately, I drove to DFW. Had the 7 p.m. flight, and it got pushed 7:30, and then 9:30, 11, 2 a.m., 2:20, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna make this one, but I'll come back. So.
Oh yeah. So TJ, what you been up to lately, brother?
Just playing shows, lots of shows, and I've been kind of restructuring my studio, my recording studio here in Hugo. So I've been knee deep in sound reinforcement and sound absorption and running the room, through the reference mic and going back and forth moving panels. Really, really exciting stuff. But it's been rainy. It's been nice. Just been listening to music and doing that this week. So it's been pretty nice.
How's my favorite little weenie dog doing?
He's doing great.
Is he?
Yeah, we've got an extra cat now. We were never cat people. But then there'd be a stray cat that would come around, and Tiffany feeds every stray in town. So we go from just having a cat and a dog to having stray cats, and then now another inside cat. It's just kind of getting out of hand, honestly. But
and then some outside animals as well, right? A possum or a raccoon, right?
Yeah, we have possum. We have a couple raccoons. But this cat just showed up one day, and I thought there was something wrong with his paws because it's got like 7 toes on each paw, and I was thinking, oh, this poor cat. We got to take care of this cat, And but apparently it's a polydactyl cat. They're like Hemingway cats, I guess they're called. They have extra toes and pretty wild looking. But it just looks like she's got like 2 hands on each paw. It's pretty crazy. So we just keep acquiring animals, and so I don't really get much sleep at night because I got to let them in, take them out, feed them. You hear something outside going on, you got to make sure that there's not fighting or there's not a skunk out there fighting. But it's country living. It has its advantages though too.
It could be.
Is that cat larger than the other cats with all those toes and stuff?
Well, it's smaller cat, but bigger hands.
But it can handle. Yeah, it can handle its own.
Oh yeah,
Because it's got extra claws, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it got in a fight, you got 2 extra.
Oh yeah, yeah. It'll run.
Yeah.
It'll run off. It'll run off anything.
Yeah.
I got a funny story for you. So don't ever get miniature donkeys and don't ever get miniature goats, because you think you got a cat problem right now. So I started off with 5 miniature goats, and within 2 years I've got 16 miniature goats, and then we had a miniature donkey, a female miniature donkey, and 2 male miniature donkeys, and the miniature donkey was kind of older, and we thought she couldn't have babies or whatever, and so I got this. Down there, I've got these cameras all over the place so I can see stuff all the time because I can't go down there all the time. One day I just look on the camera and all of a sudden I got this little baby miniature donkey walking around the field. I'm like, oh Lord, I got another donkey. So I had to go, go down there and get another donkey. But anyways, yeah, don't get no donkeys and don't get no goats. You'll have plenty of them.
Well, The moral of the story is they breed quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're kind of like those pigs that we have in Texas, man.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, we got plenty of them here too. So,
Yeah.
what you been up to, Justin?
Man, not much. Just chasing kids and trying to figure my way out in the real world out of baseball.
Did you ever get your knees to quit cracking when you get up and down anymore, or what?
Man, they're fine. My dumb ass still goes and plays in an old men's baseball league on Wednesday nights. It's more for the not so much for the baseball side of it, more just go drink beer and hang out with my buddies, get that locker room atmosphere.
Yeah.
What position are you playing on that?
Man, obviously I catch, but my favorite thing to do is pitch
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I haven't got to do that for a long time. So it's hard and it's more competitive. You know what I mean? Catching, I can do that in my sleep.
Yeah.
Especially out there with 40-year-old plus throwing like 70 something miles an hour. So I mean, it's not too difficult.
TJ, you're a pretty good athlete.
Dude, Tennessee, I remember when we came out to San Diego, he was throwing the shit out of the baseball out there.
We saw it hatched. It was 7 years ago where we were out in San Diego. When you took us around, Tiffany just said that she pulled up in the feed. Where does time go, man?
Yeah, man. I'll never forget. She was so nice. She went and bought I think she bought candy and Gatorades and shit for my kid for the tour bus that night, you guys. I think you were playing House of Blues out that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never forget that, man. She's such a great lady, man.
Yeah, Tiffany's the best.
Agree. We that was a good little trip around the stadium there. Beautiful park. And
Oh, that was a good time. I mean, I think Petco's probably the best there is in the big leagues. If you ask me, if you go, you take in the weather, you take in where it's located, then just it's gorgeous.
oh yeah, look, San Diego's, you're not going to get much nicer than that.
No, it's hard. It's hard to beat that.
If you don't want seasons, then San
Yeah,
best place to live.
yeah. I had the best of both worlds because I'd be out there during while it was hot as hell in Texas, and the time I'd get back, it'd be cooling off here in Texas, and it's time to go bow hunting. So it was ideal for me.
Oh yeah. What do you think about, like, every team's got like 5 guys that throw 100 miles an hour now?
Man, it's nuts. I do think, and I'm not 100% on this, but I do think with the new guns, like they take the velocity out of their hand where it used to be taken at the plate. And so I think that's definitely added some miles an hour because obviously when it comes right out of your hand, it's going to be firmer than it is at the plate. Um, and I think that's kind of, obviously everybody takes better care of themselves these days. You got better strength and conditioning programs. They're working on so much mobility, hip to shoulder separation, so you create more torque and all this stuff. But yeah, no, they're definitely got it dialed in and getting guys to the very top of what their bodies can handle.
So it's like age-old question, what would Babe Ruth hit in today's game?
Man, everybody's just always air to air, but I have to believe that he would make the adjustment. If he was brought up in this era, and he would be right there. He'd be more talent. He'd be more talent than most.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a tough question, but I just think if you're brought up around it and you were that good compared to, I always look at it. He was that much better than the peers around him. Which I think one year he had more home runs in the whole freaking league. So it's like, how is one individual that much better than the rest at that time period?
it's a great Scotch conversation, though, especially if you can get someone that will adamantly disagree. And you can take either position, You can say,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
well, there was no night games. You can go both sides of it. And it's just a fun conversation, because ultimately
Oh, for sure.
there's no way of knowing, so you can just keep arguing it and bringing up things. But it is interesting.
No, it is extra. Yeah, for sure. I get people say that all the time. I was like, I obviously did. I can't tell you one way or the other if he would or not, but I'm just thinking, just to the fact that he was that much better than everybody else is nuts.
Yeah, it is.
TJ, there's your next song. A Babe Ruth song, buddy.
What's that?
So here at the 25/8 podcast, we kind of get to know the person. So my next question is where did both of you grow up? When was that point in your life you had that burn in your heart, in your belly, that you knew that, hey, I'm gonna be somebody, want to do this or whatever. And we'll start with you, TJ. What do you think?
I grew up in Oklahoma, but man, baseball was really the thing for me growing up. That's all I wanted to do. I'd eat it, sleep it, and breathe it, and you kind of take it as far as you can. And man, those guys that get beyond college ball, they're just freaks, man. They just it's a it's a obviously hyper competitive, which that's not a problem, but at some point it's just a matter of, if you're 6'5" and left-handed, and it's a little bit different game than if you're 5'9" and can't get down the first baseline, as fast enough. You can't really get faster, you can incrementally get slightly faster. You can do everything you can, but man, if you're like for someone like a middle infielder like me, you had to be able to run, and I would have been below major league average, and so it's like that's not gonna happen. I took it as far as I could take it. I played college ball and got some interest from scouts, but I think that I would have been the guy that they probably would have drafted just to keep like the head cases in shape. They probably would have ruined me with that person, hard worker, kind of line. Sometimes guys, sometimes those guys, they end up playing major league ball. I see certain people um, and they're not really like on the skill set they might not have anything that's like above major league average, but they manage to eke out a 10-year career, because they're just like gamers, and Hatch would know a lot more about that than I would, obviously, but yeah, and I just started playing music and more seriously in college, and then just kind of decided like, oh yeah, this is where I'll pour all my passion into, and just kind of took it from there.
So which college did you go to?
Eastern Oklahoma State College. I wanted to go to OU, and it was kind of a good little junior college feeder program for that. And I was thinking I would go there, and I would play a couple of years there, and get a lot of at bats. But it's that deal where the coach would tell you, man, you come here, and like the job's yours to lose, and uh, and then you get there and you realize he's told 6 people that. And so you're just fighting it out. And in baseball, the crazy thing about baseball is everybody could be you could have 6 really good players, but it's really just kind of who gets hot at the right time, as
Mm-hmm.
far as like who start the season, starting. And ultimately, I think I was starting by about uh, you know, maybe about 10, 15 games in. I was starting, and I'd go for a while. And then if you get cold, they just bring the next guy. And especially in college, there would be people that would be almost just like arrogantly saying, "Oh, you're throwing a right-hander today," and they would load their whole lineup with left-handed hitters, and vice versa. And so when you're in college and you're just trying to get at bats, it just doesn't make any sense. You really should just go somewhere where you play every day.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
that's what I learned.
I think they need to do a 30 by 30 on Bobby Keith, because he's the best that never was.
And you-
Dude, Bobby Keith go get it on that softball field. Boy. I tell
Dude,
you what,
he's a go-getter. He
holy,
man.
he
Hey,
was diving all over the place when I went and played. I was like, holy shit. We got Ken Griffey Jr. in center field.
if if I had Bobby Keith's foot speed, I don't know, it may have been a different story. He can get down the line.
Well, I just I've always been taught, like, I wasn't always the biggest guy, but I think if you hustle, like, no one should be able to out hustle you or outwork you, which is kind of what we talk about on this podcast. And I think you can always, like, I think Derek Jeter said it, but there's no excuse for anybody to work harder than you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody might have more talent than you, but you can always work harder than them, spend more time, in the gym or on the field or getting reps or whatever it is. So,
Yeah, you
but
could definitely. I always felt like if you can control the things you can control,
That's it.
at the end of the day, you can look at yourself in the mirror and be satisfied. Just that my talent wasn't quite, because you're gonna obviously when you're younger, your talent's here, and then as you keep moving up the ladder with music or whatever career you do, right? Talent starts to catch up, and then it's going to be the separator is going to be the work ethic, and then obviously comes down to the end of the day, probably going to be the mind, your ability to process stuff and move past stuff and not get stuck on overthinking and in a rut. I would guess you would say, because a lot of guys, I remember myself being in the mirror looking at my hands and everything, going, dude, what the fuck can I hit today? I just went 5 for 5 last week, and now I'm 0 for 15. You know what I mean? And so I'm changing my stance. I got my hands here, my leg. You know what I mean? Where I feel like the good ones I've been around, the Trouts, the Otanis, Pujols, all those good ones. They know they stick with what's got them there, and they just know they're just not seeing the ball like they should be, and they'll get back rolling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
such a
how,
mental game, isn't it?
It is.
The difference between like something like a 280 hitter and a hitter is like 10 hits over the course of a 500 game at bat.
Something like, yeah, if you just get that one bloop a week, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're hitting 300 versus 275.
yeah, it's crazy.
and what's funny is
You're in the Hall of Fame if it's like I don't think
Oh, absolutely.
there are 300 hitters that aren't in the Hall of Fame. I don't know.
No, I mean it's definitely a failures sport. You just fail less than everybody else, and you're elite.
Well, and I think one of the most thankless jobs is like the closer, because it's just like you're just expected to be perfect every time you go out there.
Right?
You blow a save, and it's just like we do all this work and get here, and now you have one. And you can't get out the modern major league hitter, which is like just exceptional.
Right.
It's a crazy job.
And it's no different in the military. In the military, it's a mindset, and it's
Oh.
it's no different. It's funny how all those things come together for everything you do. Business, same way.
I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how your mind works and how sharp it is and what you feed it. At the end of the day.
So Justin,
Hash, do you mind telling us about like how you growing up and all that?
Yeah, man, I was crazy upbringing, I guess. I mean, amazing, but I had a dad that was a world champion boxer. Uh, was gonna fight in the Olympics in 1980. Won some medals in the trials, but then it got boycotted because of the Cold War that year. So I grew up. My grandfather was my dad's cut man, and we lived next door to each other. So I woke up in the mornings. I don't know, 5 or whatever it was. My dad, I remember we'd do a couple eggs in a cup, salt and pepper, and chug them, kind of like the Rocky. And then I'd ride my bike, behind my dad as he ran. And my grandfather would shine his headlights on him as we would, he'd run his 5 to 10 miles. I'd get tired, then throw the bike in the back and hop in with Grandpa. And then obviously every evening we were at the gym, and I was fighting all the other boxers' kids, and all that stuff. But kind of got into I tried the Golden Glove stuff when I was younger, and it was kind of embarrassing getting introduced as a world champion son, getting your ass kicked. So I decided that baseball and football was probably going to be a better route for me.
is that somebody calling the bullpen to get the pitcher ready?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get somebody loose. But anyways, I kind of got serious from the baseball stuff. I don't know if I was ever, I don't know if at any point that I was like, I'm going to be a major league player or not, but I love playing it. I didn't enjoy so much watching it as a kid, but being on the field, playing it, that and football just was a passion. And then as I loved to work out, loved all that stuff, the intangibles that went along with it. Then as I got older into high school, then I kind of really started to feel like that I'd like to go to the next level, play some college ball. And I really think, obviously, I think that was the only reason why I ended up probably going to college, was because I wanted to play baseball. And then it helped me make good grades, because if you didn't make good grades, you couldn't be on the field and all that stuff. So I think that all hand in hand helped me get to where I got to.
So where did you attend college at?
So I went the JUCO route, man. I was a little bitty sucker when I was like 165, 170, maybe 5'10". It's actually a center fielder and a catcher. I went to Eastfield Junior College, which is in Mesquite. So started there. My freshman year, I played center field and led off. And then sophomore year, I actually signed with TCU after my freshman year, and they wanted me to come there to catch, but I had to get my associate's degree because all my test scores were not great. So my sophomore year, I caught the whole season. We ended up winning the Division III JUCO World Series, which I was excited to be a part of. And then when I got to TCU, then that's where I ended up getting drafted out of there by the Rangers.
How'd you like being called a horn frog? What is a horn frog?
I don't even. I mean, it's they're not very many around anymore, but there used to be a tons of them, like a horn toad or whatever.
I mean,
it's a really,
but like I watch.
it's definitely not a mascot anybody's scared of.
So is that like the on the old brother we're out there, the horny toad? Is that what that is? Like a okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. It's
Like the one. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And if you come to the game, he looks real tough running around in his little suit, but I've never seen a mean horn toad.
I forgot about the mascot. Yeah, it is pretty good.
He's all jacked up.
Yeah.
Muscles everywhere.
So TJ, getting into going further into the music now. You're getting started. You got out of college. So what was the first song you ever wrote?
Oh, gosh, it was probably something really, it's probably a very George Strait wannabe type song, just something very, that's all I was listening to is like George Strait and Merle Haggard and Waylon and Willie. That's what my parents listened to. So that's what was kind of what I was introduced to musically early on. And so it'd probably be something like that, something that you might hear on one of those records, but just like from someone that had not written their first, 100 songs yet. So yeah, something like that. The beginning's always rough, as far as like looking back on it. At the time, you think it's like something really great, but well, you're just happy you put chords to words and you play it, and then and people respond to it. You look back later and you don't want anyone to ever hear it, It's just, but that's like with anything when you're learning anything new, there's gonna be ups and downs, and music, in the similar to sport. It's like it's a failure game too. You've got to learn rejection and just get used to it, where it's just nothing to you, because you're going to deal with it every day. And usually the people that like manage to make a living doing it are the best at just being resilient. And you almost need to have doses of like mild delusion at times, because if you start thinking of it, of how many people are trying to do it, it just gets real easy to get down, or to think like how difficult it is. But you've got to have these, like I said, like mild delusions at times, where you just think like, man, I'm really doing it now. I'm this is great, because there's going to be other days where you just wake up and go like, what am I doing? It's just like anything that's really hard, but anything worth having is probably going to be hard. So you just stick at it. But yeah, probably something like that. Probably some George Strait-ish type thing would be early on. But I heard that you've got, in order to write a great song, you've got to write 100 bad ones. It was like the first thing I heard this, and so I thought like, well, I'm going to write 100 bad songs as fast as I can, and but the thing is, if you just take it like almost as a numbers game early on, and just make yourself learn the craft enough just to complete a song, they don't even have to be good songs, as long as they have like a verse, a chorus, second verse, maybe a bridge, just something that's technically a song that you can actually play for people. Then you'll just learn, how to get your mind thinking of writing songs. And the funny thing is, you look back after you're writing those first 100 songs, and there's probably a good 10 songs in there that have something to say, or you could work with or keep refining, or that are like pretty good songs. But you've got to make yourself write the first 100. Just make yourself write 100 songs, even if they're just about podcasts, or dogs or cats. Just write 100 songs, and you'll be surprised at how much quality actually comes out of just the quantity goal.
What about a 6'8" midget that drove a tank and then his girlfriend broke up with him? He went to Korea, came back. I mean, what about that?
Yeah, there's one right there. That might be out of the 100 down
And,
right.
and then the train left me at the train tracks and everything else. I mean, you know.
It's aspect of it's just like like if you're, it's not fun like hitting off a tee, you know, but it's training your muscles and your brain and it's technique. It's not none of that's fun, but you do it long enough and you start seeing it pay off. Same thing with songs. It's like it's not fun some days just waking up and grabbing a guitar when you don't feel like there's anything that you really want to say, or everything you're playing you've already heard before, or there's nothing new under the sun. You've got to figure out new ways to kind of get your brain excited about things. It's the work.
But I think too that's the separation, right? That you're willing to do those things, to sacrifice to be successful. Where some people, I think the most successful people have failed more than
Oh yeah.
anybody because they're not scared of failure.
Yep.
We're just, you look at it as a stepping stone, you look at it as a learning process, and it's like, you might have got me this time, but here I come again. So I think with baseball, it's the same thing. It's like, you might have got me out this time, but here I come again, or whatever it is in life. I don't look at anything as failure. I'm not successful all the time, but it's not necessarily failure. You learn from it and you keep moving. I think the same thing. I feel like music, it's like, right, you got to, here I come. And like you said, there's times where you don't want to do anything. You just want to lay around and do nothing. But I think the successful, motivated people are like, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because I want to be the best I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that aren't successful are the ones that make excuses and lay around and feel sorry for
Yep.
themselves. So I think anybody that's elite in whatever they do, you have a sacrifice, but you also have a goal, you have a commitment, and you have determination that I'm gonna outwork, like we said earlier, you're gonna outwork everybody around me. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't end up taking me to exactly where I want to go, I can look at myself in the mirror and go, you know what, I give everything I had to be the best I could be, and I can live with that.
Yep. Get fall
Ultimately,
down.
ultimately, you're really just competing with yourself. You're just competing with what you did yesterday and see if you can improve on those things, and at the end of the day, feeling good about yourself that you've grown, whatever you're doing. So that's the way
My
I look
favorite.
at it.
My favorite saying is fall down 20, get up 21, brother.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. That was kind of the mentality, obviously, growing up with a dad that was a world champion boxer. If I ever said I couldn't, he'd slap the shit out
Mm-hmm.
of me and say, can't, never could, son.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you got to get your mind right. And he was always big on visualization stuff and writing your
Yep.
goals. And, I'd keep it, he'd tell me to write my goals, individual and I'd keep it in my Bible. And, I'd read it over and over. And then I would see myself having success. And he's like, if you can see yourself, you've been there. So when you are in those situations, your mind has been there, even though you might not have been there, so it'll help you relax and prepare and be ready for whatever comes your way.
That's right. That's 100% right.
TJ, do you remember like one of your first songs you wrote to where you're like, all right, I got this, or a song that, I know the songs that you've written, but for the people listening that might not, what was one when you wrote it, you were like, all right, like this is starting to click, and then, that song had success?
That's the weird thing about it is sometimes the songs that like you might write and think like, oh wow, this is a masterpiece, or this is the best song I've ever written, and then you go play it for people, and sometimes it just kind of falls on deaf ears. And then sometimes songs that you write that you think like, well, I need something up for my set, so I guess we'll play that. Like, well, a few people told me this song's cool, so we'll play it, and then they like freak out over it. So it's just it's so strange, and it's a very you can write something in no time, and it can be a song that like you end up having to like play every night because it's just like one of your most liked, most received songs. And then you can have a song that you felt like you worked like 10 years to write, from all what you learned to incorporate it in the song, or different parts or things you've taken. And it's like the montage of the last 10 years of your life all encompassed in this one song. And you go out and play it, and it's just kind of like, that's cool. But what about that one that you wrote in like 50 that you don't think is very good, or So it's a strange thing. And then there's also tastes too. You know, obviously, if you there's certain songs that are gonna play better for a group of people that are there to like kind of escape and just kind of maybe drink, dance, whatever it is. And then there's certain songs that are made for people just to have headphones on alone in their room to listen to, more of kind of an introspective thing. So um, it's hard to say what that first time you start. I think you just start early on. You know, for me, since I started playing in the dance halls, really like my first, first shows, it was really just like what fills the dance floor. And so, funny thing about that is that the song doesn't have to be that great as long as it's just got the right two-step beat to it, and you've got a good enough band that can, um, fiddle player, pedal steel, Telecaster kind of thing. It's just like they're gonna dance to anything you can sing. So you think the song's really good, because it fills the dance floor every single time. It's like, well, you can sing anything with that beat, and it's gonna happen. There's always those songs that you learn that are kind of like the life raft if you're trying to play a new room back in these dance hall, the honky tonk days, which they really just don't. I don't think they really exist anymore. At least there's not very many honky places that call themselves honky tonks, but it's just more so like for the shtick of it, And but actual honky tonks were like, gun and knife clubs, and if you don't have a gun and knife, they'll give you one at the door so you can compete. Those guys,
Yeah.
So Justin,
um,
Justin, so what was that moment, that first major league pitch that came in your glove, and it hit your glove? I mean, was that a hair standing moment? Did you block out everything because you're in the game? I mean, what was that like?
No, so I I never actually got to be a player in major leagues. Um, I got to catch in the bullpen and then be the catching coach. So I'll tell you this, probably the most nervous I've ever been was it's we're up in the eighth. I think we're up 2-1. Trevor Hoffman. Do you remember that
Oh
name
yeah,
by
oh
chance?
yeah.
Okay, so Trevor, I mean, you're talking about amazing individual, right? And me getting there, you realize that he's the all-time save leader at that time, and the nostalgia that comes with Trevor, right? But Trevor was such an amazing dude too that like you wanted to do everything perfect for Trevor. You know what I mean? And even though he didn't care, but you just felt because he was such a good guy. So I'll never forget. I don't know, it's like the second or third game there in Petco, and it's time for him to get up and start getting loose. And then everybody's just crowded around the bullpen. And I've never been nervous in a baseball, and maybe it's because I wasn't actually playing. I was just warming up him, but dude, I was like physically shaking and I mean, and I was like, I wanted to do everything perfect, and I remember kind of throwing the ball back and kind of throwing it low where he had to bend over to catch it. And I was like, oh crap, man! I was like, I need to hit him right in the chest. And then you start thinking about that, like I need to hit him. So that was probably like the 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 moment that I was like, oh man, this is a little overwhelming. And then obviously as the lights start flickering and hell's bells comes on, and, and he trots out to the mound, my heart's racing, and it's like that was probably for me, like one of the coolest feelings of, necessarily I didn't get to be a player, but that was like kind of where you felt like, man, I kind of made it to this situation, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah,
and so
how nerve wracking would it have one of those bullpens that's like on the field?
Oh, it was terrible. Like San Francisco, all those years, but now they put it out in center field. But it'd be full. I'd have to be in full gear because I got to block everything. The fans are wearing me out. The young pitchers are nervous because they know if they throw it, it goes right to home plate.
It's crazy.
I'll never forget one kid's warm up. Remember Roberto Kelly was the first
hmm
base coach
hmm
for San Fran forever. One of our guys was warming up, lets it fly, and it smokes Roberto right in the middle of the bat. And I'm like, oh shit. And of course now the crowd is really getting involved. Whoop woo, Hatcher, you got no cleats on. I mean, it was an absolute shit show.
I want to know who
But yeah, those. Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to know who's got the copyright for all those like the baseball chant songs, like the and like is it that bad a thing to be a belly itcher or pitcher? I mean, that's not a big deal, right? I mean,
Yeah, right.
that's
No,
really it's so
I'll never forget. Yeah, I'll never forget. It's like there's a video somebody showed me that was on YouTube or something. It's some like 10-year-old girl just wearing me out from the stand. Catcher, the catcher, you gotta name it right, fit your job. Oh man, it was a good time.
You know,
It was a good time after the first year when I kind of was like, kind of settled in a little bit, and was like, all right, I can have fun with this. But that first year, man, I was a little nervous most of the time. It's like, and at that point, I was just catching the bullpen, so I wasn't coaching the catchers and doing other things. I was just throwing batting practice and stuff like that. So once I got busy doing other things and got acclimated with the crowds and stuff, because normally if you were playing, up in I made it to AAA and you're playing, you're focused in on what's going on in the
mm,
game. Well, when you're down in the bullpen and you already know that you're the bullpen catcher, right? So and everybody's wearing you out, you're like, man, this kind of sucks.
oh yeah. Talking about that adrenaline rush, I got to tell you a funny story. So when I was in the Army, we'd be on tanks, and so we'd get these.
Oh, I can't even imagine that.
We'd get the AC/DC and the Quiet Right. We'd get it playing in our headsets. And so we'd go down range and we'd have these targets. And I was a driver. I was always a driver. Never was a loader. Never was a gunner. I was always a driver because I was only 4'11". Weighed a $150, whatever. But man, when you'd have that going on, and then that tank would fire, and I mean, it would just explosion or whatever. I mean, the hair would stand up on my arm. So I'd always tell everybody, if that's what I feel like there, if I could just run out of the baseball tunnel or a football tunnel one time, I'll just let them cut my finger off. Just cut my finger off, and because it's
Dude, I got a feeling that might be a little bit more extreme than any of the others.
yeah.
I used to love the Navy SEALs. They'd come over and hang out with us
oh yeah,
there at Petco because they love baseball, and obviously we respect it. And I mean, honestly, loved that. We'd go over and do their obstacle course with them, and they'd let us come in and do the shooting, the 3D shooting stuff, and they would give us medals and stuff. Man,
mm,
I always just admired watching them do the buds and all that stuff. Man, just the mental. Everybody thinks in sports you're mentally tough, which you are, but that's a whole nother level
yep,
of I really admire. And I mean, you talk about having to weed out the weak because you have to weed out the weak because whenever you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you got to know that dude has got your back
mm,
and he's mentally, physically tough enough to protect you and your friends around you. Like that's a whole nother level of respect,
yeah. Me and Bobby Keith, we interviewed a couple Navy SEAL Dev Group guys a week ago, and I'm friends with a bunch of those Navy SEAls, and I'm telling you, those guys, you want to talk about drive, and then businessmen, and I mean, they just got it all together. It's crazy how that training they went through has made them like just the top of the top. It's insane, insane.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
So
will say too, something about the Padres is every Sunday that they have a home game is a military Sunday, and I really respect what they do for that as well.
Trevor started that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Hoffy. He started paying for all military on Sundays. Whoever wanted to show up,
wow,
he'd pay for their. Yeah,
Wow,
and
man.
then it just kind of snowed, and then the Padres started, picking it up. But yeah,
Well, it
Trev
just goes to
started
show
that.
you how good of a dude he is, man.
oh, by far.
Yeah.
So TJ, you've written two of my favorite songs. And my most favorite song is the What You Love. So what is the backstory behind that song, What You Love? I mean, what is it about? So the people that don't really know, because every time I listen to it, it makes me cry. I know it's about my kids and things like that, but some of the people that don't know the backstory, if you could share that with them, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I wrote that during the pandemic. Wrote it with Cody Jinks, and it was just going to be about. It's just a kind of a song about just following passions, and yeah, it's laid out. It's just laid out pretty much in the song. It's hitting you the way that it was supposed to, so that's good to hear. There's an old Bukowski line, Charles Bukowski. Find out what you love and let it kill you. And there was no song that used the line, and so it's just like you're always kind of, as a songwriter, you're always kind of mining literature, and trying to see things that maybe could work in a song because they're different. You know, poetry's not songwriting, and songwriting's not poetry, and songwriting can be poetic, but it's really a different art. And it's the same thing with like literature and song. Is like there's some great literature that doesn't necessarily make great song, and vice versa. But sometimes, you know, you can be inspired by that. And a lot of like my favorite, like a John Steinbeck, East of Eden. You know, I think East of Eden is taken from Shakespeare, and you know, there's always something that's derivative of that. So there was just that line, and that was how do we apply that to you know, just kind of personal situations, you know, and Cody's got a couple kids, and we can all relate to just like following our passions. So it was just a matter of putting it down and making it rhyme and trying to keep it interesting, you know.
Yeah, so when I'm having a bad mental week or I'm struggling, whatever, and I need to get the tears out, that's the first song I put on. I mean, I put it in my truck and I just go for a drive. I don't care if I drive to Greenville. I don't care if I drive to Charlotte, wherever. But I put that in there, and I mean, I'm just, you know, it does something for me. But and then what about The Only High? So that's my other favorite song. So where did that come from?
Well, the only high, it's off the new record. Is just sometimes you write songs that are from your direct experiences, and then other times you write songs for people that might not write songs, but they feel certain ways, and so certain titles, you know, in songwriting you'd call it like the hook line. Is hook line's usually the thing that like you know it's what you usually sing at the end of the chorus, the beginning of the chorus. It's the title of the song. You know, if it was George Strait, it's like nobody in his right mind would have left her would be the hook. You know, and it's a Dean Dillon song, but um if I said you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? You know, those country hooks, you know, things like that. And so the only high, the song would have been best written from someone's perspective that went through some harder stuff than I've put myself through in terms of drugs and alcohol. You know, um, I've had times where I've needed to tone down on the drinking, you know, over the years, and you just said, well, you need to slow, or you're going to get too used to this. You know, it's going to get too comfortable. And but I never stuck a needle in my arm or anything like the guy in the song. So a lot of times you're just trying to like absorb other people around you that you realize like, God, this person's got a story, but they don't really have a way to express it. They don't write songs or uh, you know, any other art form that could get that out of them. But if you can write it for them, then maybe they can feel like there's someone out there that empathizes with what they're going through. And so that was what The Only High was about. And then you're always taking elements of, you know, because really ultimately it's just all emotions that you're dealing with, and our jobs as songwriters is just to manipulate emotions, really. And so it's just a matter of taking things that I relate to, because anyone can relate to addiction, even if you're not addicted to anything. If there's just things that you really ultimately, um, in a sense, become the God in your life, you know, it's worldly things that you just at some point realize, you know what, this is where I put all my time and energy into, and this is a destructive thing, you know. And you even have to watch out for those things that are not necessarily destructive, but you really, you know, in terms of priorities. And so that was just a matter of putting that in song, and it's like Johnny Cash didn't really, you know, shoot a man in Reno just to watch him die, but you believe it when he sings.
Mm-hmm.
Finding ways that he relates to that person, and then his persona is also something that like plays into going like, well, you know, I believe he could have shot a man in Reno just to watch him die, you know. And so songwriting, you don't necessarily always have to write about something that people always say like, well, the best songs are things that you've gone through very specifically, and it's like, well, sometimes they're the best songs, but sometimes they're not very great. Sometimes it's good to step outside of yourself and try to empathize with someone else, and see if you can pour your life's experiences and perspectives into that. It's not really the 100% this, 0% this. It's just, you know, it's how you apply your own experiences to other people's situations.
Yeah, and the Bury My Bones song. I mean, that's probably one of the most popular songs you've written. You know, Whiskey Myers have done it. You've done it by yourself. You've done it with Brian Martin. Where did that come from? Because I mean, that resonates with me too. Because you know, it talks about the pine trees and all that stuff, and you know, being a Georgia boy my whole life. Even though I had to live in Seattle for a little while. Don't hold that against me, but uh, but man, you know, where did that come from?
I wrote that with John Jeffers, the guitar player in Whiskey. John's a very underrated songwriter. Um, and he just came over to the house, actually right in this room, right a few feet over there, sat down and just wrote that. He had the start of it, and it was just a matter of, sometimes people will come to you and they have an idea for a song. Sometimes there's a song that all it needs is just some fixing and tweaking, and sometimes he came with the first verse, I think, and it was a matter of just kind of like, you know writing the back half of the song, and so yeah, it's just a matter of me applying things and keeping the song having new elements, and bringing co-writing is a lot different than solo writing, and it's really tough, particularly for me, to find people that I co-write with that I feel like I'm um, really getting something out of, and that I feel like the things that I bring to the table are beneficial for the song, because now it's become such a deal, particularly in popular music. Like, if you're in Nashville, a lot of those songs, which is like the mecca for songwriting, probably in just about any genre. Honestly, Nashville is just a songwriter town first and foremost. But a lot of these songs have at least 4 writers on them. And there are songs that have 10 writers on them or more. It's just insane to me. None of your favorite novels have 4 writers or 10 writers. They're usually just a solitary effort. And songwriting is different, of course, and people bring different things to the table. But man, I don't know why I need that many people on a song. A, there's no money in it. B, people are gonna be compromising, left and right, because it's just like, how can 4 people lock into having an idea that's cohesive? There's gonna be a couple people that are not pulling their weight, and I've just always I've been a credit where credit's due guy, and I've been on a couple writes where you sit there and, you know, 3-way writes, and at the end you just want to turn to that the third wheel and be like, did you need to be here? What were you doing?
That's kind of like Bobby Keith having a guitar behind his head back there, and he can't even play the guitar. So
No, man, but like my friends have been kind enough to sign it for me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm allowed downstairs in our house is music stuff, because my wife loves it. But no, all my sports stuff has to go around a corner where no one sees, or upstairs.
yeah.
So she feels like she lives in a museum, so she loves this. So.
I had a
There's an
guitar
art.
and I was terrible. I tried and tried and tried. Peavy, remember, Jake Peavy? He's really
Oh yeah, yeah.
he can pick up a guitar and do all that stuff. So he got me one, and I took it home for the off season, thinking, man, I'm gonna at least be able to pick a little bit. Man, I didn't have
By spring training, I'm gonna show
my
him something.
ADD, whatever you want to call it. I could not just sit there and I wasn't good enough to get it where I could even start to hear something come out. So it was like, all right,
Hatch, you'd be a drummer.
yeah, I think so. I think I'd be better at yeah. I'm not real like smooth with my fingers and stuff. I need to hit something.
I just think put your mind at a drum, I'd
Yeah,
be a hell of a drummer.
yeah, I think you're right.
So
I'll try that.
so Hatch, what's a cool story that people out here may not know about you behind the scenes? Whatever you want to share with everybody. I mean, something funny, whatever you want to share.
Man.
Like a team plane trip or something that you don't have to name your
Yeah,
names,
no,
but if you can
okay,
bring
I'll
up
tell you.
something
So
like
we
that.
were night game in LA playing the Dodgers, and then we had the Sunday night game. So usually on Sundays you have a day game and you travel, right? So we had the night game. And I made the mistake. We had our fantasy football draft like a few days before that, and we had a huge ball of Jack that was left over. And I was like, of course, man, I'm not going to waste a big ball of Jack. So I grabbed it and put it in my backpack. And on our flights, they would give us beer and wine. They had for some reason taken the liquor off the planes, and I soon realized why they did that. As this flight takes off and we're headed to Milwaukee, and I break this ball of Jack out, and we got the tunes going back there, got the Bose stereo cranking, everybody's having a good time, and then throw on I Need More Cowbell, Baby. You know, it's like dong dong.
Oh yeah.
Well, at this point, I mean, we're 2.5 hours in, and let's just say everybody's feeling pretty sexy about themselves, you know. And the more
Kind of like Ric
cowbell
Flair on the
they
plane.
start banging, the oxygen mask things are deploying. Somebody decided to rip off the bathroom door and play it like a guitar. Um, there, needless to say, there was about $75,000 worth of damage done on that bird that night, and I soon realized why we don't bring hard liquor on airplanes.
Jeez. Well, but it was a memorable one though.
Oh man, I loved it.
That,
I was like, this is awesome.
that
And of course, I wasn't beating anything up because I didn't have the money to pay for anything. So I was like, this is great.
that kind of sounds like the airplane ride from hell, you know, with Ric Flair and all those guys. And speaking of wrestling, you know, how did TJ? How did you come up with the Hulk Hogan song? I remember you playing that and everything, and I kind of showed it to my buddies, but that's pretty good too.
Oh, the Hulk Hogan song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was just a stupid song. It just decided.
It ain't stupid, brother. It's good.
Well, it was that time whenever you know, Neil Young, remember he'd had the issue with Joe Rogan podcast, and it's funny, like all these you know, people that used to just speak out before my time, you know, the Neil Youngs and like the protest singer, right, that kind of thing, and then whenever it comes time to, you know, since like COVID on, I think it's just like they've all just not only clammed up, but they've like joined the regime, you know, at the time. And it's just, I was just thinking it was so stupid. I was like, you know, whatever happened to Neil Young? Um, and I just wrote just a silly song really, and then made the mistake of playing it in front of people. And then it's become something that you've got to like figure out how you're going to get out of the night without having to play it, you know?
Well, you ain't gonna get out. You ain't gonna get out of it ever. As long as I'm around, I'm gonna make sure everybody knows about that song.
Well, I mean, I can't. I mean, you know, I'm not. It's flattering that people want to hear anything that you do. So it's just like I can't be mad at you. I don't think I'd be mad at you for any reason. But it's but yeah, you got to be careful sometimes the songs you play out because you might end up having to play them for, you know, you want to. I mean, you want to write songs though that become not that this is one of them or even close to it, but you want to be the guy that wrote Wagon Wheel, you know, or Tennessee. The song like you're gonna have to play it till you're dead because it's just that popular. That's really the ultimate goal is to write Sweet Home Alabama or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
As much as you might be sick of it, it's like it's not yours anymore. It's theirs.
Yeah.
Price that you have to pay, even if you don't like it, you better figure out a way to.
Yeah.
You know, going back. Oh, my bad, TJ.
Oh, you're right.
No, going back to you know, you write a song that, you know, you're like, man, how do I get out of playing this? So the guy that wrote Dick Down in Dallas, right? I can only imagine how he goes back to, you know, Christmas or Thanksgiving, you know, and his aunt's probably like, what was that song you wrote that's kind of popular? You know, and he, you know, you don't want to say it in front of your family or whatever. So that's the only thing that might be awkward for people that write a song like that. That like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that or sang it or put it out. But
Yeah, the guy that did that, he like did like a whole like he wanted people to hear the song. It was not just something you
yeah,
heard, you know, after the show at backstage and you're just messing around and like that was like intended to be like this like here's me, here's what I do as a songwriter. So it's like at that point it's like fuck off if you want to complain about it.
yeah. Like I say, man, I listen to it driving down the road if it comes on my playlist. I'll listen. I'm not gonna skip it, you know.